Someone told you a lie about money when you were young, and you believed them. Not because they were trying to deceive you, but because they genuinely thought they were helping. Maybe it was a parent who learned about money during a completely different economic era. Maybe it was a teacher who had never actually built wealth themselves. Maybe it was a financial expert on television who makes money by keeping you scared and confused rather than informed and empowered. These lies get repeated so often that they start to sound like truth. They get passed down from generation to generation like family heirlooms, except instead of building wealth, they destroy it. The average American household has more debt than savings. Lives paycheck to paycheck despite earning more than their parents did at the same age, and genuinely believes they're doing everything right because they're following advice that stopped working decades ago. I'm going to expose 7 of the most destructive money lies that are keeping you broke. And I'm going to tell you what actually works in 2026. Some of this will contradict everything you've been taught. Some of it will make you uncomfortable. But if you implement even half of what I'm about to share, you'll be further ahead financially than most people will ever get. Let's start with the biggest lie of all. Money lie number 1. If you don't buy a house, you're throwing money away on rent. You've heard this phrase at Thanksgiving dinners, family gatherings, and from every well-meaning relative who bought a house in 1987 for $80,000. Rent is throwing money away. You're paying your landlord's mortgage. At least when you buy, you're building equity. These phrases are so deeply embedded in American culture that questioning them feels almost unpatriotic. But here's what nobody tells you about those first 20 years of your 30-year mortgage. You're paying more in interest than you're paying toward the actual house. Pull up any amortization table and look at it yourself. In the early years of a typical mortgage, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes straight to the bank as interest, not toward building equity. While people talk about building wealth through home ownership, what they're actually doing for the first 2 decades is primarily paying the bank. The numbers in 2026 make this even more stark. According to a recent lending tree analysis, homeowners with a mortgage pay 37% more per month than renters on average. The median monthly rent was around $1,187 in 2024 compared to over $2,350 for mortgaged homes. That gap has widened, not narrowed. In 22 of the 100 largest metro areas, owning costs at least 50% more than renting once you factor in utilities, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Renting isn't throwing money away. You're paying for a roof over your head, flexibility to move for better opportunities, and someone else dealing with the 2 a.m. plumbing emergency. When something breaks in a rental, you make a phone call. When something breaks in a house you own, you write a check. Now, I'm not saying buying a house is always wrong. In some markets, particularly in the Midwest and parts of the Sun Belt, buying makes mathematical sense. Cities like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, and Chicago show clear advantages for buyers when you run the full analysis. And there are non-financial reasons to own a home. Stability, customization, the psychological satisfaction of ownership. These are real and valid considerations. But the blanket statement that renting is throwing money away, is mathematically false in most major American cities. False in most major American cities right now. The more accurate statement would be that many homeowners are throwing money away on interest. Throwing money away on interest, property taxes, maintenance and property taxes, maintenance and insurance while convincing themselves they're building wealth. Run the numbers for your specific situation. Calculate the total cost of ownership, including interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the opportunity cost of your down payment sitting in home equity instead of invested elsewhere. Then compare that to what you'd pay in rent plus what you'd earn if you invested the difference. You might be surprised by the result. Money lie number 2, you need to track every penny. Financial experts love telling you to create a detailed budget with 47 different spending categories. Track every transaction, log it daily, color code your expenses, know exactly how much you spent on gummy bears last month, or you'll never achieve financial success. So you try. You really do. You download the apps, you set aside time every night to categorize transactions. Maybe you stick with it for 2 weeks, 3 if you're particularly disciplined. Then life happens. You forget to log a few purchases. You fall behind. You feel like a failure because you can't even stick to a budget. But what if the problem isn't your discipline? What if the problem is that detailed budgeting is the wrong strategy altogether? People who are most successful with money aren't spending their evenings updating spreadsheets. That's playing small. The most successful people set up a system once, automate everything, and then get on with their lives. They understand a fundamental truth about personal finance. Obsessing over small expenses while ignoring big ones is a recipe for staying exactly where you are. I've looked at thousands of people's finances over the years, and the pattern is always the same. People track the price of coffee to the penny while having no idea that their housing costs are consuming 45% of their income when they should be under 30%. They agonize over whether they should order appetizers while driving a car with a payment that's financially destroying them. Stop asking $3 questions and start asking $30,000 questions. Are your fixed costs under 60% of your take-home pay? Are you investing at least 10%? Do you have an emergency fund that could cover 3 to 6 months of expenses? Instead of tracking every penny, use what I call a conscious spending plan. Break your income into 4 categories. Set it up once and automate everything. Fixed costs, including rent, utilities, debt payments, insurance, and groceries, should be 50 to 60% of take-home pay. Investments should be 5 to 10% minimum, with higher being better. Set these to transfer automatically before you even see the money. Savings for emergencies and goals should be 5 to 10%. Also automated, everything left over is guilt-free spending that you can use however you want without tracking a single transaction. That's 4 numbers, not 47 categories, not nightly logging sessions. 4 numbers automated, reviewed monthly. The people who actually build wealth spend their mental energy on increasing income and optimizing big expenses, not on whether they spent $4.50 or $5.25 on coffee. Money line number 3, stop buying coffee and you'll be rich. If you've ever heard a financial expert say something like, if you just stop buying lattes every day and save that $5 in 30 years, you'll have $100,000. I want you to understand what's actually happening in that moment. An older person with assets accumulated in a completely different economic era is using a lazy shorthand to make younger people feel guilty about tiny pleasures while completely ignoring the structural financial challenges they face. Housing costs have risen faster than wages for decades. Healthcare costs are astronomical. Student loan debt is crushing. But sure, the reason young people can't get ahead is the coffee. It's lazy analysis. And the biggest result is millions of people walking around feeling guilty every time they buy something small for themselves, while their actual financial problems go unaddressed. Let me be blunt. Cutting out coffee is not going to make you rich. I know plenty of wealthy people, and not one of them attributes their success to caffeine restriction. What actually builds wealth is automatic investing, automatic saving, building a higher income, and making good decisions on the big expenses like housing, transportation, and education. Cutting out coffee will do exactly one thing: make you miserable every single morning while saving you an amount that's essentially irrelevant to your long-term financial outcomes. And let's be honest about human behavior. You're not going to take that $5 every morning and invest it. You're going to try restricting yourself for 3 days, feel guilty, give up, and buy the coffee anyway, while also feeling like a failure. It's the worst of all possible outcomes. Let's do the math on what actually moves the needle. Say you spend $200 a month on coffee and eating out. You cut all of it, meal prep every Sunday, bring your lunch to work every day for 30 years. You would save maybe $72,000 over your lifetime, assuming you actually invested all of that money consistently, which almost nobody does. You know what else saves $72,000 or more? Negotiating one salary increase, buying a car that's $10,000 cheaper, refinancing your mortgage at the right time, reducing your investment fees by 0.5%. Each of these is a one-time decision that saves massive amounts of money. And unlike daily deprivation, you only have to make the decision once. If you love your morning coffee ritual, get the coffee. If you enjoy trying new restaurants, go ahead. The key is to identify what you actually value and spend intentionally on those things while cutting ruthlessly on things you don't care about. I drove the same 2005 Honda Accord for years because I genuinely don't care about cars. I redirected that money to things that actually mattered to me. That's conscious spending, not across-the-board deprivation that makes life miserable. Money line number 4. Credit cards are dangerous and should be avoided. Credit card companies do want you to carry a balance. They do charge punishing interest rates. The average APR for a new credit card is 23.72% as of March 2026. They do make billions of dollars off people who don't pay their bills in full. Americans collectively owe $1.27 trillion in credit card debt, a record high. But the advice to just avoid credit cards entirely because they're dangerous is too black and white. It's like saying you should never learn to drive because car accidents exist. Yes, there's risk involved, but with proper understanding and responsible use, credit cards are actually one of the most powerful financial tools available to you. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on credit cards over the years. How much interest have I paid? Zero. Well, almost zero. There were a couple of times early on when I forgot a payment and had to pay late fees, which annoyed me. But in general, for over 20 years, credit cards have paid me rather than the other way around. Thousands of dollars in cash back. Credit card points I've used to travel internationally in business class for free. Automatic warranty extensions that have replaced broken electronics. Purchase protection that covered stolen items. These benefits are so powerful that most people don't even realize they exist. Here's a benefit most people overlook. Credit cards help you build credit. A good credit score matters enormously at a few key moments in life. When you're buying a house, financing a car, sometimes even when you're applying for a job or renting an apartment. Good credit versus bad credit on a mortgage can mean tens of thousands of dollars in savings over the life of the loan. The key is understanding how to use credit cards correctly. Pay the full balance every single month automatically. Set up autopay for the full statement balance so you never have to think about it. If you do this, you never pay interest. You collect all the rewards and you build credit. Credit card companies actually have a name for customers like this: deadbeats, because we don't make them any money. Be a deadbeat. If you're currently in credit card debt, that's a problem you need to fix aggressively. At 23% interest, debt compounds against you at a devastating rate. Make paying it off your top priority. But once you're out of debt, don't cut up your cards. Learn to use them correctly. Figure out where you went wrong and fix it. The goal isn't to avoid things that feel scary. It's to become financially strong enough to handle them responsibly. Money line number 5. Investing means you need to pick the next hot stock. Have you ever felt the sting of hearing about someone's incredible investment returns? Your high school classmate who could barely remember to breathe somehow bought Bitcoin in 2016 and now drives a Lambo. Your cousin who made 300% on some crypto altcoin. The guy at work who perfectly timed the market and sold everything right before the crash. There's a common fantasy that picking the right winning investment will solve all financial problems. If we're just smart enough, if we follow the right newsletter, if we time our entries and exits perfectly, we'll achieve wealth beyond our wildest dreams. Here's what I know about the investment world after studying it for years. It's full of liars. When your cousin tells you about his $5,000 gain on some obscure altcoin, he's not mentioning the 10 other coins he bought that went to zero. When your coworker brags about timing the market perfectly, he's not telling you about the other times he tried the same thing and got crushed. Gamblers only talk about when they win. They never add up all their losses. If most of these people actually calculated their total returns, including all the trades, all the fees, all the taxes, all the time spent researching, they would realize they could have done just as well or better by buying a simple index fund and getting on with their lives. The simple investment strategy that has created enormous wealth for ordinary people. Consistent, long-term investing in low-cost index funds. That's it. No hot stock tips, no market timing, no crypto speculation unless you genuinely understand what you're doing and treat it as a small portion of a diversified portfolio. Just boring automatic diversified investing over decades. The average annual return of the S&P 500 is around 10% over the long term, about 10.4% over the last 100 years. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly 7%. That means your money doubles approximately every 7 to 10 years just by buying the market and holding it. But here's the catch. You have to actually stay invested. You cannot panic and sell when the market drops 20%, which it will do periodically. You cannot try to time when to get in and when to get out. There's a famous study that looked at 15 years of market returns and found something shocking. If you miss just the 10 best days of investing during that entire period, your return dropped from double digits to essentially matching inflation. Miss the 30 best days, and your returns actually went negative. You can't predict which days will be good or bad. Nobody can, regardless of what they claim on financial television. The people who try to time the market, jumping in and out based on their predictions, consistently underperform people who simply buy and hold. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time. Money line number 6, you need a financial advisor to manage your money. The temptation to outsource your finances to a professional is understandable. Money feels complicated. Markets feel unpredictable. You're busy with work and family and life. Why not just pay someone to handle it? Financial advisors love phrases like wealth management and portfolio optimization. The goal is often to make investing feel like some mysterious art that only experts can master. And then they charge you a fee, often 1% of your assets under management every single year. 1% might not sound like much. It's just 1%, right? Let me show you what that 1% actually costs over a lifetime. Say you start investing at age 30 with $25,000 and add $500 per month consistently. At a 7% return over 30 years with a 1% advisor fee, you'd end up with around $653,000. Sounds pretty good. But if you put that same money into a low-cost index fund charging 0.1% instead of paying the 1% advisor fee, you'd end up with about $795,000. That advisor just cost you $142,000. Well, $142,000 for managing money that in most cases you could manage yourself with a few hours of education. Now, there are legitimate reasons to hire a financial advisor. If you have a genuinely complex situation, stepchildren creating estate planning complications, business ownership, significant assets requiring coordination with accountants and attorneys, professional help makes sense. But pay them a flat fee or an hourly rate for their expertise, not a percentage of your assets under management. You don't pay your personal trainer a percentage of your net worth. You don't pay your lawyer a percentage of your portfolio for reviewing contracts. Why would you pay your financial advisor that way? For most people with straightforward financial situations, here's what you actually need to succeed on your own. Contribute to your 401k at least up to the employer match. That's literally free money. Max out your Roth IRA if you're eligible. Invest in low-cost index funds or target date funds. Automate all of it so it happens without requiring your willpower or attention. Review your allocations once or twice a year. That's it. You can set this up in a few hours with some basic research, and the $142,000 you save over 30 years is yours instead of someone else's. Money line number 7. To earn more money, you need to follow your passion. This might be the most seductive lie on the list because it feels so inspiring. Find your passion, follow your heart, do what you love, and the money will follow. It's the message of countless graduation speeches, motivational posters, and social media influencers who somehow failed to mention the trust fund that paid their bills while they pursued their dreams. Too many people quit stable jobs to chase their passions, start passion projects that never generate income, and sit around waiting for inspiration to strike while their bank accounts dwindle. When it doesn't work out, they blame themselves. I guess I just haven't found my true passion yet. The relationship between passion and money often works in the opposite direction than people think. You don't necessarily start out passionate about something and then make money from it. You often get good at something, start making money from it, and then become passionate because success is enjoyable. Maybe you're passionate about photography. Great. But are you passionate about marketing yourself, dealing with difficult clients, editing photos at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, managing the business side of a creative career? Because those are the activities that actually determine whether photography makes you money or just costs you money. Here's a more practical approach. Instead of searching for passion, ask yourself what you're good at, what you could get better at, and what people would pay you for. The intersection of those 3 questions points toward income, whether or not it sets your soul on fire initially. Maybe you're organized and could become a professional organizer, charging $150 per hour. Maybe you're good with numbers and could do bookkeeping for small businesses. Maybe you understand social media and could manage accounts for companies willing to pay thousands of dollars monthly. None of these sound as romantic as following your passion, but they pay well. And here's the beautiful part. Once you're earning good money from something you're competent at, that gives you freedom to explore your actual passions without financial pressure. You can take cooking classes, travel, work on creative projects, pursue hobbies, all without worrying about whether they'll pay the bills. The money buys freedom and options, and those create space for genuine passion to emerge. Stop waiting for passion to strike like lightning. Build skills that are valuable in the marketplace. Earn money. Use that money to construct a life you actually enjoy living. The passion often follows the success, not the other way around. These 7 lies share a common thread. They all sound reasonable on the surface. They've all been repeated so many times that questioning them feels strange, and they're all costing you money. So what actually works? The truth about building wealth is simpler than the financial industry wants you to believe, but it requires rejecting the conventional wisdom that keeps most people stuck. Housing isn't automatically an investment. Run the actual numbers for your situation rather than accepting blanket advice from people who bought houses in different economic eras. Detailed budgeting is a waste of energy for most people. Automate your savings and investments. Focus on the big expenses and stop agonizing over small purchases. Small daily expenses like coffee are financially irrelevant compared to big decisions about housing, transportation, and income. Optimize the big stuff. Enjoy the small stuff guilt-free. Credit cards are tools that can either hurt you or help you depending on how you use them. Learn to use them correctly instead of avoiding them out of fear. Stock picking and market timing are losing strategies for almost everyone. Buy diversified index funds consistently over decades and ignore the noise. Financial advisors charging percentage fees cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Either manage your money yourself or pay flat fees for specific advice. Passion doesn't lead to money. Competence and value creation lead to money. And then money creates the freedom to pursue passion. If you implement these principles, automating your finances, optimizing big expenses while ignoring small ones, investing consistently in low-cost index funds, using credit responsibly, and building valuable skills, you'll end up wealthier than the vast majority of people who are doing everything right. According to conventional wisdom, the financial industry profits from making money feel complicated. It isn't. The people selling complexity are usually selling you something. The fundamentals haven't changed in a century. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference automatically. Focus on increasing your income and make good decisions on the few big expenses that actually matter. Everything else is noise designed to keep you anxious, confused, and buying products you don't need. Now you know the truth. What you do with it is up to you. If this breakdown of financial myths has changed the way you look at your bank account, please subscribe and like the channel. We are dedicated to uncovering the financial truths that have been hidden for generations. Start investing in your knowledge today. Your future self will thank you. The next chapter of your financial freedom begins soon.